You know, before I get into the meat of this video, there's a few things that I need to say up front that will serve as the intro to this brief video. Many of you have already sent me emails pertaining my Mother's Day marathon. I'm going to be dispersing those videos this evening as we gear up for next week's Mother's Day. And I will produce a video next week to inform y'all. Y'all know how it is. Y'all know I'm going to do a Mother's Day trilogy. I mean, I don't even think that needs to be said. You know that's coming, and you know it's going to be epic. Because the videos that I'm producing now is actually the build up to Mother's Day, which I'm going to do a mother's tribute. But that's all forthcoming. Like I said, next week I'll produce a couple of videos and I'll let y'all know about that. But right now, what's on the docket is the marathon. If you want them, you know what it is by now. Second nature, like breathing. Send me an email. I'll get you the link. Now, also in this video, and I'm just going to let y'all know what's coming down the pipe in this video here, because people have been sending me messages and contacting me about that second video on Uncle Ruckus, Revisited. And I told y'all I was going to do a second video and give you some of the books. And I'm going to do that video next week. What I was busy doing actually is going through my collection, pulling out the books that I intend to use as I present this case. And what I've told y'all in the video is that when you read what these individuals are saying, I mean, when you read their material, and you have to read it with open mind, when you read their material and you look at this current modern day Afro-American Negro, you have to really scratch your head and wonder if they were not actually prophets in some of the things that they wrote. And one of the books that I know I'm going to reference is Robert Schuffelt's The Negro Menace to American Civilization. I mean, that book there is the Bible as far as I'm concerned. And if I could show you my copy of the book, it's all marked up just like the Negro Christians. Well, let me take that back because we know they don't read their Bible, but you may find one or two every now and then who marks up their Bible, who actually studies their Bible. And that's the way that book is. That's the way a lot of these books are. And as I read that material, I read it with open mind, as I told y'all, and I began to really analyze this Negro. And I told y'all, and I've said this in many videos, it upsets people. People get offended when I say it. They don't like it when I say it, when I talk about this black male. And I talk about how he is not the brightest bulb on the tree, nor is he the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's not. Not by any stretch of the imagination. He's just not. I wish that weren't true. I wish I didn't have to say that. But it's a fact. Once you analyze this Negro and you take a panoramic view of his behavior, there's just no way around this. It's painful, but it's true. And particularly, and I'm not really going to go too much into detail because I have it under the microscope, but particularly when I'm looking at black men on social media, even after this flagging campaign by these sisters. And I sat back as I analyzed that. I'm sitting back and I'm smoking a cigar and I'm thinking to myself, you know, actually, this may actually be a blessing in disguise. Finally, something may actually galvanize black men to unite around what they have in common. being mature enough to set aside petty differences and just look at the fact that, listen, you're a black man, I'm a black man, we're all under attack. So based upon that premise and that premise alone, I'm not saying you got to be buddy-buddy, you got to get along with them, but based upon the premise that you are under attack for no other reason than you are a black male and you have an opinion that people don't like. Because of that, you're under attack. So that you would think that in this climate, black men would have finally said, you know what, enough is enough with this bickering back and forth. Sit this shit aside, man. Let's unite around this. Let's use this as a rallying cry for black masculinity. No matter what our differences were, let's set those aside, put those on the back burner, and let's unite around this. I thought that was going to happen. But as I'm looking on social media, this is not what I'm seeing. And it leads me to believe that, again, and when I make this part 2, well, actually it'll be part 3, when I actually give y'all the sources. And if you go out, if you're disciplined enough to actually go out and get those sources and actually sit down and read that material and do so with an open mind, then take a panoramic view of this Negro. And then you answer the question for yourself. Were they right or were they wrong? And again, like I said, I know, and I can cite this book now because I know for a fact I'm going to use it, and that's the Negro, a Menace to American Civilization. And when you look at his argument that he puts forth in that book, and you look at this modern day Negro, there's no way that you can say that he was wrong. And that book, I believe, was written, if my memory serves me correct, I believe that book was published in 1907. In 1907, this book was penned, of which everything that we see in urban America, he discussed. Maybe not in modern terminology, but it was discussed. Many of these authors, Charles Carroll, again, no relation, but a great scholar, The Negro Beast. And I sat back and I read this material. And there's many others that I'm going to share with y'all. Like I said, I was compiling it, putting it all together. That's what has taken me so long. I hadn't forgotten about doing the video. I was just putting together what books I wanted to use and which books I wanted to reference, because there's so much. I mean, there's so much that you can actually look at and then take a look at this Negro and see that these guys were actually prophets. They actually made sense. And in light of the behavior of black men on social media, after all of this flagging, after all of this attack on freedom of speech, after all of this being targeted, being put on a hit list, I thought the battle lines have been drawn. The proverbial line in the sand has been etched out. I thought, because when black women started doing that, they were actually casting down the gauntlet. And I can't remember which video I done, but I talked about that whole practice. When a knight wants to challenge another knight, he would throw down the gauntlet. And if the other knight accepted the challenge, he would pick the gauntlet up. And then they had a duel. I thought black men was going to pick that gauntlet up. When those sisters cast down that gauntlet and said no more, and we don't want y'all's opinion, and they threw that gauntlet on the ground, I thought black men were going to hustle down and pick that gauntlet on and say, it's on. The battle lines are drawn. Let's have at it. And of course, you know, just in case somebody is going to misinterpret what I'm saying, which is always the possibility when you do videos on YouTube, I'm talking about an ideological battle, a battle over concept, a struggle over ideology, which in all likelihood is not really a negative thing if it's done correctly. And I've told you black men this. I've told y'all this. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. Disagreement is healthy. If you know how to disagree without being violently disagreeable. You black men haven't figured this out yet. And for some odd reason, you brothers operate from the misguided notion that everybody has to agree with you. And again, and people tell me, man, you preach yourself. I have to, because you don't get it. And I've told y'all in many of my videos who died and left you in charge, whereby your opinion is the opinion and the barometer for blackness. Y'all heard me say this. If we agree with you, then we're black. We love black people. If we find ourselves in opposition to what you say, all of a sudden we hate ourselves and we hate black people. Who died and left you that kind of authority with your opinion? Who? Tell me. And again, like I told y'all in many videos, if you tell me who that was, I'll fall right in line with you. If you can't tell me who gave your opinion that kind of mantle or that kind of strength, then all it is an opinion, which everyone has. And I've been very thorough at trying to outline this for these Negroes. This is very simple stuff, people. We're still on the shallow end of the pool. We're on the end of the pool where they have signs that says no diving. But I believe, this is what I really believe when I look at black men. Even though there are signs warning you, do not dive here. This water is not deep enough for you to dive in. You got to go to the deep end of the pool if you want to dive. But I believe black men actually dived into the pool on the shallow end, and those Negroes hit their head. They cracked their head on the bottom of that pool, and this is the reason why they act the way they act, behave the way they behave, and think the way they think, and use logic, well, it's not really logic, but illogical behavior, illogical thought. This is the reason why they bumped on the head. And again, going back to what I originally told you at the beginning of the video, they're not the brightest bulb on the tree and the sharpest knife in the drawer. And it pains me to say that, because when I say that, it actually makes me side with black women. And again, if y'all follow me, you know that there's an asterisk that has to be placed there. And we already know what that asterisk will be, what will come after it if you follow my masterful rabbit hole. But I'm going to do that video more than likely next week, maybe middle of the week. I'm going to produce that part 2 with those books. I haven't forgotten it. It's coming down the pipe. I want you to see the material. I want to sit it in your lap, because I told y'all I want to let you see why I think the way I think. And it's not just picked out of the sky. There's a method to my madness, and I'm going to prove that to you next week. This video was just designed to let y'all know what's coming down the pipe. Nothing more, nothing less.